Greetings, everyone. Good morning. Still in Texas. In this video, we're going to be talking about an Arlo first generation essential spotlight camera, I think is the full title of it, that's basically stopped working. Let me first start by saying that I am somewhat familiar with Arlo cameras using the Arlo Pro series, the older Arlo Pro series, actually, at a place in the Philippines. So I've worked with them a bit. I haven't worked with this particular camera much, actually at all. This is the first time. The setup for this particular camera has one of Arlo's solar chargers connected to keep it alive, and it has been functioning for several months now. It's basically been dead. When I get last winter, there were some storms in this area that went on for a couple of weeks, and about halfway through that, it stopped working. It was set up outside. I need to take it down, look at it, figure out if it's the camera or something else. We'll see what's going on. I took them down this morning, so yeah, first step today is going to be cleaning them up. So a little history here. I actually did install this camera several years ago. It's at my niece's place. This was back when she was living in Littlefield. Since then, she's moved to Lubbock, however they pronounce it. And she put the camera back up herself, so it's outside her front door. As I said, it failed during some winter storms a while back, so like I said, I need to take it down, get the solar panel off the roof, take a look at it. I have a few suspicions right off the top of my head of what could be or might be wrong with it, but like I said, I need to look at it. I think there are a few factors contributing to the camera failure, and whether it actually is a failure or not. I'm having some trouble finding the actual technical documentation I would need to prove my theory one way or the other, but yeah, this type of cameras, you get user's manuals. There's no real technical manuals for them. So I got to go by gosh and by gum and by guess, I guess. I will say the fix I used in this case did work. Camera is working, so I can say that. But I have no way of confirming whether it actually was a fix or just started working on its own. Like I say, I can't get a hold of anything really technical or detailed about the inner workings of the camera, the battery, the charger. But I'm going to cover it. I just want to say up front, take what I did here with a big grain of salt. It's probably not going to work in most cases. So the camera is an Arlo VMC 2030, like I say, essential spotlight camera. First generation, I believe. A solar cell used with the camera, the solar panel. It's an Arlo VMA 3600. There are a few negative aspects to this particular camera that, well, at least according to me, one of the big ones being that it has a sealed battery. You can't replace the battery in it. And like I said, my suspicion is the battery is probably at the heart of the issue we're having with this camera. But anyways, the camera itself, it's a sealed weatherproof or weather-resistant container. I'm not sure what the difference between weather-resistant and weatherproof is. I'm sure there's some technical specification for that someplace. Has a spotlight on the front, as with a lot of the Arlo cameras, has a microphone, has a speaker. Most Arlo cameras do audio. There's a light sensor on the front, and then the LED, which tells you the status of the camera, where it'll blink orange or blue depending on what's going on. In the rear of this camera, there's a screwed mount hole for mounting the camera. And then on the bottom of the camera, we have the sync button and a sort of waterproof cover over the connector. That's basically the power connector. Another difference between like this particular essential camera series and the Pro series that I'm using is this one does not require a hub. It can connect directly to your network, your cell phone, your computer, what have you. The Pro camera series I use requires a hub to go through as the camera signals are encrypted. The solar panel itself is fairly straightforward. I mean, there's not much to it. One other problem I currently I have to look at the date the Essential camera came out. It's still using a micro USB connector, not a USB-C connector, so that would be an improvement. I haven't looked at any of the latest offerings from Arlo, so I don't know. The older ones did use a micro USB, and that was common, so I sort of understand that. So pulling the camera down and cleaning it up was fairly easy. I mean, just disconnect the connector for the solar panel. They're both mounted on these standard Arlo mounts. They just unscrew and I bring them inside to work on them. So the first thing I did was clean them up. So they look nice anyways. And one of the things I initially did with the solar panels, I found a cheap USB flashlight with a micro USB connector on it. I plugged it into the solar panel and held it up to the light, and the charging light on the flashlight came on, so that sort of tells me the solar panel is working. At least the 5 volts is working. I'm pretty sure that's what the light uses. Arlo cameras themselves use the Qualcomm Quick Charge standard, and that has additional voltages, 9 volts and 12 and 20 volts, I believe. But at least this showed the solar panel was putting out power. One of the things I initially did with the solar panel is I found a cheap USB flashlight with a micro USB connector on it. I plugged it into the solar panel and held it up to the light, and the charging light on the flashlight came on, so that sort of tells me the solar panel is working. At least the 5 volts is working. I'm pretty sure that's what the light uses. Next up on my test, I had problem here is we're visiting, so all my tools are back at home, my meter, all that kind of fun stuff. So I was sort of by gosh and by gum working this thing. Anyways, I had a Qualcomm Quick Charge style charger from Rayovac, which I used to connect the camera up with, and it produces the 5 volts, the 9 volts, and the 20 volts, or the 12 volts. I believe this is an older Qualcomm. It doesn't do the 20 volts. I believe the Arlo doesn't use that particular feature, at least not on the Pro series, and I'm pretty sure it doesn't use it on this Essential series, maybe the newer cameras. So anyway, connecting it up and plugging it in, the camera just sort of laid there and did nothing. I was pretty sure the cable and the charger were good, and I did the little flashlight test with the charger, so yes, it was at least putting out 5 volts. So I went through several different cables a couple of times. Interesting thing happened. Somewhere around the 6th or 7th time, I was plugging a cable into the charger. The light on the front of the camera, the LED, flashed yellow really quickly. Then it went to a flashing blue light all of a sudden. And I hadn't really done anything to the camera except, like I say, I tried about 4 different cables. I think I tried them twice, so I must have plugged and unplugged the camera around 8 times. But all of a sudden we were getting lights. They didn't last very long when I unplugged it, so I just plugged it in and let it lights flash. They went out, and I let it sit for a couple hours to hopefully see if it would build up a charge in the battery. I did check a couple of the other cables, and they all appeared to work, so it appears that plugging in and unplugging the camera multiple times brought it back to life, and I sort of have a theory about that I'm going to talk about in a little bit, but right now, as I say, I just let it charge for several hours off of the electrical charger. Was able to sync it up with my laptop and my phone and check the spotlight and a few other functions, but we'll get into that. So after I plugged the camera back into the solar charger and held up the light, and well, I think it was charging, but I really needed to hook it up and look at the display to see. So I went ahead and logged into my Arlo account and went through the steps necessary to add another camera. Took about 5 minutes. So you can see me walking through the process here. Like I say, it didn't take too terribly long to get it hooked up and running. The procedure was slightly different than it was with the Pro cameras, which don't have this nice little HR code you can scan, or QR code you can scan. Anyway, once connected, yeah, I could get a picture from the camera then was able to go ahead and go through and test all the functions, the audio, and I could actually see the battery status on the display. Also hooked up to my phone, and basically the same thing. I was able to prove that now it was charging when the solar panel was hooked up to it. So to be clear, cleaned the camera up, plugged and unplugged it a bunch of times, and it just suddenly started working on its own. I can say I do have a sort of theory about this, though. So basically my theory goes like this. The camera, the Essentials camera, uses a lithium battery. If you read the specs for lithium batteries, there's a discharge voltage specification that if you fall below, the battery generally stops working. This is because most lithium battery packs have some built-in intelligence. They have some circuitry in there that, in order to keep you from damaging the battery, basically makes it non-functional when the voltage of the battery of the cell fall below a specific point. A lot of my reading on lithium batteries and on their use in general has led me to this conclusion. I, again, couldn't find technical specifications to say that this was absolutely true for the battery in the Arlo camera, but I suspect it is. Normally, when the battery gets this low, it's not going to work. You can try and charge it. It's not going to charge it. The circuitry prevents the charger from charging the battery. There are special chargers where you can hook directly to the battery and charge it bypassing the smarts. When I plug it into a USB wall charger, that Qualcomm charger, that the circuitry in the lithium battery is going to not allow it to charge, but there's going to be a millisecond or maybe a few milliseconds of time when you first plug it in where charge is getting through before the circuitry kicks in and blocks it. And if I unplug it and plug it enough times, those milliseconds add up, and all I need to do is get that charge voltage above the cutoff, and then the battery should start acting normally again. Well, at least that's my theory. One thing that you want to back it up with is the place in Littlefield, Texas, the front door was facing south where the camera was mounted. Therefore, it got sunlight during the entire daylight hours from dawn till dusk. Here in Lubbock, Texas, the facing is east. So it gets morning sun, but basically there is no direct sunlight afternoon, and because the sun's on the other side of the place. So basically my theory is that you obviously get less light during the winter months, but with several weeks of storms, it was getting, instead of getting half a day's light, it was basically getting no light. The camera's running basically 24/7, even though it's got a lot of energy-saving features, but at some point the battery got totally discharged below the discharge voltage, mainly due to the lack of sunlight due to the 2 weeks of storms. Anyway, once we got it fully charged, we got it set back up, and it seems to be working fine now. My only suggestion to my niece was you need to keep an eye on the charge level, especially during the winter, especially during bad weather, because it can fall off quickly, and if so, you'll want to, there is an outside plug. You can get a long USB cable, and you could technically hook it up if the battery gets too low and charge it that way. But that was it. It wasn't a very complicated fix. It was just a matter of going through the steps. Anyways, if you like this video, please like, subscribe, comment, and we'll see you next time around.